My problem is I just have like literally no idea what you're supposed to make with this yarn. The cupcake ruffle skirt pattern by Amazing-ish Grace. I like don't think that this is gonna last very long just because it's pilling so much. About 2 weeks ago, I posted a podcast format video and I really liked making that one. But I also just am having a very chaotic day of crafting. I've like started a bunch of projects in the past, I don't know, 4 days. And today I've just felt very scattered on what I want to work on. So I thought I would just sit down and show everything that I'm working on to you all. And I don't know, I'm hoping that talking about it helps me get a better sense of direction on what I need to prioritize with my whips. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the things that I finished this week. Okay, so the first thing that I finished this week was the Tide and True Tank by Star-Crossed Knits. I knit this up in Loops and Threads Facet yarn in their colorway Sweet Raspberry. I just loved this pattern. I raved about this on my Instagram already. Well, I raved about the pattern itself, that is, but I'll get to what I mean by that in a minute. I mean, honestly, y'all, if you want a pattern that is a really adorable summer top and that is a bit challenging, like you kind of have to pay attention to it, but there's enough mindless sections and will just be a knitting experience that overall is like fun, this is so the pattern for you. I felt at every turn like I was doing something a little bit different than I normally do it. It's worked flat, which historically hasn't really been my favorite way to make a garment, but with this it was cool because there was so much to it. It's basically, as you can see, a cardigan, which I also actually haven't knit before. But so you do the whole thing flat out like this, and you pick up stitches at the shoulder to create the front two portions. And then you basically just, if I remember correctly, you just like join under the armpit and then it makes one big piece and then you just kind of go from there. Some really cool features with this piece are the I-cord edging, the I-cord bows that go down the front of what the pattern refers to as the neckline, but it's just, you know, the center of the top. The ruffled frill at the bottom, and then the feature that I was most excited about learning how to make when I chose this pattern, which is the channels that the lower two most ties run through. So it's kind of hard to tell with my sample because of the stripes, but I'll insert a picture of Star-Crossed Knit sample that is solid red and you can really see the channels there. That was a really cool process and I was really excited about that when I picked out this pattern. So I started this on June 9th and I completed it on July 18th. I think that that start date is accurate. I'm not really sure. I took so many breaks in working on this. For a long time, this project was just kind of like the thing that I picked up when I didn't feel like working on my other projects, to be honest. And then I had some other things take priority before a recent vacation, so I set this to the side. And then once I got back from that vacation, this was all I worked on. So once I really sat down and started working on this in earnest, I would say it was super quick. There's a lot of room in the pattern to modify the fit for your body. Tamara, the designer, recommends trying it on really often throughout the pattern, and there's even written spots in the pattern where she says, okay, take it off the needles and try it on here. In doing that, I realized I did not need to do any bust shaping. There's some decreasing that you do under the armpit, and I believe that I just did the standard amounts that was in the pattern. The only thing that I did differently from what I can remember from what the pattern says to do is that I decreased after the underbust cord channel. My waist is much smaller than my rib cage, and I have a pretty long rib cage too, and I knew that I wanted this to fit pretty snug, so I actually ended up doing some decreases after that underbust channel. I only did like, I think 3 rows of decreases, doing the decreases as the pattern calls for. So that was probably like 12 decreases in total, and I'm so glad I did. I kind of just was winging it, but it ended up fitting me perfectly, so I'm super excited about that. So yeah, this pattern, this finished piece, I absolutely love it, but I have to talk about the yarn for this project. Before I even wore this piece, I ended up giving a review of this yarn on my Instagram story, so some of you may know my opinions of it. But a lot of my thoughts about this top as a whole now are affected by my thoughts on the yarn. This is all that I have left of this yarn, so sorry for how it looks, but this is, like I said, the Loops and Threads facet yarn in their color Sweet Raspberry. I've talked about this in past videos on my channel. I bought this yarn at a Michael's probably a year ago or something, and it's just been sitting in my stash, and I like the colors of it, but I didn't really know what to do with it because it's acrylic. And this yarn, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's super loosely wound, which is appealing because it kind of looks like hand spun yarn. Right now at Michael's, this yarn is $5.99 a skein according to their website. So it kind of gives you like an expensive hand-dyed, hand-spun yarn feel on a budget, which as someone on a budget, that was really appealing to me. So I picked up 2 skeins of this, but 2 skeins of this at 279 yards a skein and 100 grams in each skein. It was just kind of a weird amount of this yarn to have. So it's just been sitting in my stash, and a few months ago I decided that I was going to use this tank top as a stash busting project for this yarn. As you can see, I have like half of a skein of this yarn left. I did not use anywhere near as much yarn as this pattern said I was going to. I don't know why, but I didn't. Like, I have so much left over. It doesn't really look like much, but if I wound this up in a ball, like, I would say that this is probably like 40-ish grams. I actually went a size down in choosing what size to knit. I think I knit the second size, so I believe that's a size small. And I originally was going to build like the size 3 option, but I thought I didn't have enough yarn for that, so I did size 2, but now I'm wondering if I would have had enough for size 3. But I'm happy with the size I did. I'm not going to go into the fact that this is an acrylic yarn. I was aware that I was making a summer top with an acrylic yarn, that it would be hot, so like I knew I was getting into that, so that's not my gripe with it at all. My problem is I just have like literally no idea what you're supposed to make with this yarn. It started pilling just from being carried around in my project bag while I was working on this. I ended up having to de-pill it before I blocked it. I steam blocked it the same night that I first wore it and the same day that I finished it. And I had to spend like quite a while just de-pilling this so that I could wear it in public. Of course, that also plays a role into how it feels in the heat, just because like that's gross. Like I have this shedding hot yarn on me in the heat. Again, take that with a grain of salt. I knew I was signing up for wearing an acrylic yarn in the summer, but the amount of pilling is like wild. I really don't know what you could make with this yarn that could pill to this extent and you could get away with it. Like if you made a blanket with this, it would be a mess. I feel like you would just have little tiny like fuzzies from this yarn all over your living room. You couldn't make like a tote bag with it because it would shed all over your, like it would pill so bad just from rubbing up against you. I mean, I would love to hear any ideas that y'all have. I just, like, it's crazy. Like I am also really bummed about the pilling of it all because I, as I mentioned, love this top so much and how it came out. I like don't think that this is gonna last very long just because it's pilling so much. Like, I don't know. I'm worried that the lifespan of this top isn't going to be very long just because the yarn is kind of falling apart. For a lot of those reasons, it was a pain to work with. It split like crazy. That definitely added to how long this project took me to make. It also was such a pain to frog because it's basically like unspun yarn. So anytime you had to frog something, it would tangle like nuts. And that was really frustrating, especially because I was learning a lot of new things to me in this pattern. I don't think I said this earlier. I-cord edging and I-cords themselves were new to me as of this pattern. I had never done them before. Learning a new knitting skill with this yarn, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10 would not recommend it. It was awful because I was frogging a lot, obviously, because I was learning something new. And it was just a pain with this yarn. It just like did not want to frog. It stuck together. It was a mess. Plus the shedding just was getting everywhere. It was driving me crazy. Can you tell I hate the shedding of this yarn? So yeah, I think unfortunately I would have to say, like, if you're considering the Loops and Threads facet yarns, and this is just in general, not specifically for this project, I just wouldn't recommend it. I think the price point is awesome. I think that there's way better yarns at those lower price points though, and at those big box stores. Just save your money. I don't think you're gonna get a lot of use out of whatever you make with this yarn. So I think in the long run, your money would be better spent on either a nicer yarn or just a different yarn that wouldn't have this result, which is kind of a bummer because gosh, I do think like the colors are so cool. And that leads me to my next thought is I thought that it was all gonna look like it does here on the front where it fades from one color into the next. But because this is worked flat, once things got to their widest extent, the color changed with each row of the top. And at first I was nervous. I was like, oh no, that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted this more like gradient, like you can even see on the top of the back. But I really like that it did that. I really surprised myself in the end. I normally wouldn't wear something like this, but once it's on, it is so cute, and I think that that ended up being kind of a really nice surprise with this top. So I love the color, not just because I love the combination of colors in this skein, which by the way, this is a really bright yarn. I feel like my camera's picking it up pretty dark, but it is very bright and fun. I just like love those fun colors in this top, but I even more so love that they go from this gradient to just creating stripes. I think it's really fun. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about this top. I can't recommend the pattern enough. I really have loved wearing this. I've only gotten to wear it once so far, but I wore it to a friend's birthday party and I got so many compliments on it. So please, like, do yourself a favor and make this and wear it so that people hype you up. Well, I was about to say I couldn't love this top anymore. I could. I love the colors. I love the way it looks. I hate the pilling and I just don't like the yarn that I chose for this. This is definitely the kind of project that I could see myself remaking with a yarn that I like more. So that is the Tied and True tank by Star-Crossed Knits. The other thing that I finished this week is the thing that I'm wearing right now. This is the Howen Dress by Paradise Patterns. I love this dress so much. I have a whole separate project vlog for it coming soon, so I'll keep my thoughts here somewhat brief. Something that I didn't mention in the project vlog that I thought I would share here is that I've been sewing for years. I've actually been knitting, crocheting, and sewing all told since like elementary school probably. I've just always been interested in making clothes, but sewing is actually something that was my job for many, many years. All throughout college, I worked in my school's costume shop, and even still to this day, I will occasionally pick up work, just freelance, in costume shops and work as a stitcher. I've done like buying for costume design and stuff too, but in terms of actually being in the shop side, like the building side, I've done that for quite a while. But the thing with that is that I often am doing alterations, so I'm not really like making pieces. So I kind of go through phases of my life where I'll be doing a lot of that and then not so much and you know whatever, but I always kind of have this like baseline of like knowledge of alterations. I just realized like this is a skill that I'm kind of letting peter off and I'm not paying a lot of attention to, and so I want to put some more focus on sewing for a little while and I make some garments for myself and just like get back to basics on sewing a little bit, because I mentioned this in the Howen Dress vlog, but like French seaming comes up in this pattern, which is like a very simple seaming method, and because I'm self-taught and because I've just kind of like learned through working, I don't even know the names of a lot of techniques that I've used, and I've gotten to the point where I've kind of just been doing things how I do them, but I've not been doing them well. Anyway, all that to say, you may be seeing a lot more sewing content on this channel as I'm just trying to shift my focus into using up the fabric that I have in my stash, because definitely in the pandemic I was sewing a lot more, so I have a lot of fabric that I bought in the pandemic that I'd like to use up. That's just a little bit of context of where I'm coming from. All that being said, I've had my eyes on looking for a simple dress pattern that I could use some bedsheet fabric that I had saved from an old bedsheet set on, and I stumbled on the Howen Dress, and this was a really popular sewing pattern. A lot of people on Instagram have made it. I'm not necessarily in the like sewing side of Instagram, but from what I can tell, this is like a very popular pattern. So I picked this pattern up and I've been super excited to make it for a while, and recently I just sat down and did it, and holy cow, you guys, I'm so happy with how this came out. I have worn this so many times since I made it. It is the perfect summer dress. It is just so hot this summer. I don't want anything touching me, and this dress is so light and so breezy. I made it in cotton, so it's amazing for these hot days. So I love that. It's just for all of those reasons been the perfect summer dress, and I think I want to make some of the other versions of it. You can make a few different views of this pattern. I made view A of this dress, but you can make a different one that has like a side slit, so that's a straighter fit, and I think I might do that one next. Yeah, I love this dress. It feels like the gateway drug that is about to set off like a whole sewing craze for me, so I'm really excited about it. It's not perfect by any means. There is some stitching like smack dab in the front that is poorly done, and I don't know that the hem is exactly even. I dyed the dress as a whole piece rather than in separate pattern pieces, so some of the dye is uneven. There's things like that. I don't care. I love this dress. I've been wearing it kind of like a muumuu. Like I've been wearing it all around the house, and then I'll wear it to run errands and stuff. So yeah, and also just really exciting because the only thing I had to buy to make this was the pattern. These are old bed sheets. I had white thread, which is what I needed for this. And there are like no other notions for this pattern. So if you want a more detailed look into my thoughts and opinions on this pattern, my experience making the dress and all of that, I will be making a project vlog for this dress. But yeah, those are things that I finished. So let's move on to my whips. I have 3 whips, and I will start with the one that is top of mind. My two lovely downstairs neighbors had a baby. That's the whole thing. So we have some lovely neighbors downstairs who pet sit for us and who we're friendly with. They told us a few months ago that they were expecting a second son. So I started making this baby blanket for them. This baby blanket, and it's been nice because I had some of this white yarn, but I did buy some more skeins just because I needed some extra for this whole blanket. But these color rows, I'm actually just using some scraps that I've had laying around. This is all in just various weight for acrylic yarns that I have, and I'm obsessed with it. I found the stitch pattern, this like V-stitch idea in an old crochet book that I got from my grandma that just has like a bunch of different crochet blanket stitches that you can do. I think that they kind of look like little rows of hearts in a way. I used Karen's Simply Soft acrylic, which is one of my favorite acrylic yarns. You can get Karen's Simply Soft at Michael's for $5.99. And I think it's a really good value. The skeins are huge and the yarn is just like super soft. So it's nice and heavy too. So I think that this will be perfect. I wasn't really sure how big to make a baby blanket, so I kind of just went until I felt like it was enough. I don't know. The other thing about it is that I had this idea a while ago and I started working on it. Then I set it down for just like 2 days to start this other whip that I'll talk about next. And in those 2 days, she had the baby. So I was kind of hoping to have this done for them like before the baby came, but I don't know, they beat me to it. So I just need to wrap this up. Basically, I have a few more ends to weave in and I'm just kind of making up a border. So I'm just gonna do 2 rows of single crochet all around, and then I'm gonna do a crab stitch around those 2 rows of single crochet, and I think I'm going to do it in this red color here because I have a bunch of that and it's like a super bright cherry red and it's very fun. So yeah. Not much more to say about that. I mean, it is just a blanket, but I think this is only my second time making. No, it's my second time crocheting a blanket, but this is my first time making a baby blanket, and I don't know, I'm just like really obsessed with it. Like I just kind of picked random colors, but I think that they all came together really pretty. So congrats, Eric and Lauren. They don't know yet, so I'm being quiet. So super excited about that, but the next whip that I have is the Cupcake Ruffle Skirt pattern by Amazingish Grace. This is the pattern that I interrupted making that baby blanket to start. This one's kind of like a let's wait and see project. I was pretty certain on the yarn combos that I wanted to use. So as you can see, the skirt is meant to be made, you can use whatever like yarns you want, it's a made to measure pattern, but the skirt is intended to be made with lace weight yarn and then a thicker yarn. So like I think she says like medium weight 4 yarn. So I just so had it in my head for the longest time that I was going to do a super bright fun skirt with yellow as my main color and then either like primary colors on the ruffles or something else. And then I remembered In my stash, I have this super old Lion Brand boucle yarn, but as you can tell from the label, she's vintage. I will not be able to get more of this. I have looked, unless any of you have it. So I was really stoked on the idea of doing the ruffles of the skirt in this boucle yarn, and this just being like a super fun, colorful skirt. But I started doing the first tiers row of ruffle with this yarn and immediately was like, I am going to use half of this ball for one tier of ruffles, and I want this to be like a midi length skirt, so like I want it to like just hit my calves. So I'm not sure. I do like the idea of a yellow skirt. I love bright colors and I love yellow, so I think I'm still gonna stick with this, but I think I just need to like have a different game plan for the ruffles themselves. So I don't know, it's kind of just in like purgatory right now. If this combo does not work out, I do have other ideas. I have this fake mohair from Hobby that I was thinking of using. It's called Alpaca Blaze. It's a mix of acrylic, alpaca, and polyamide. And basically this isn't actual mohair, but it's like, it looks just like it, but it's like acrylic, so it's super hot. So I bought a bunch of it before I'd ever actually worked with mohair, and then when I worked with true mohair, then I haven't really used this because I just realized like this is gonna be so hot. So I've only used this on like hats and stuff, like winter hats. This would be so perfect for this skirt, and I have a lot of it. And Grace also has a pattern for a matching top for the skirt. So there's definitely a world in which I just scrap all of this, regroup, and do it in this pink mohair, which I also have green of this same mohair. I don't know. So that's an idea. I'm kind of all over the place with what I'm explaining, but this is just like the state of my brain with these whips right now. But I also have this really cool mohair left over. This is mohair from the brand Trey Liz. This is the Poseidon Silk Mohair Blend. And I got a bunch of this for my cloud blouse by Petite Knit, and I just have like some odd amount of it left over, and I forgot to return it to the store. I did forget. So I think it would make a cool skirt because it's hand dyed. It's got a lot of different colors going on. My only reason to not like immediately grab for this is that it's so nice, and I don't know if I'm going to end up wearing this skirt that often because it's more for me just like a fun piece. It's not really practical because it's gonna be see-through, so I don't know if I want to use like a nice yarn on something I'm not going to wear that much. I don't know. It's an option for sure. So that's the cupcake ruffle skirt. More to come on that. I'm sure it's going to be done really soon, so stay tuned on my Instagram for updates on that. The last project is the reason why I was like, girl, you just need to sit down and like talk about your whips. I just started making a tube top on my Centro like an hour or two ago. I do have a Centro machine. I love making things on my Centro machine. I kind of like go through phases where I forget I have the Centro, and then I remember, and then I make a bunch of stuff, and then I forget again for a few months, and then I, whatever, bust it out. What having a Centro is really good for is when you're like, I just need to make something right now. Because you can. If I like literally just wanted a tube top with rolled edges, I would have one. And knitting this up took me like, I don't know, like a few minutes, like not even half an hour, because it's just truly a tube. But I'm actually gonna like finish this up because this just raw isn't really my style. So I picked up some stitches at the bottom, and I'm adding a little bit of ribbing, and then I think I'm gonna do some like I-cord straps at the top. Now that I know how to do I-cord bind off from the Tied and True tank, I'm like obsessed. I think it looks so neat and clean, so I think for something bold and striped like this, I might do that as well. Not much to say about this. I've just had this black and white medium weight acrylic yarn in my stash forever, and I'm just like tired of looking at all of this yarn. Like I just want to get some of it done, and I've been craving a black and white striped top for a while, so I tried it on. I think it's gonna be super cute. I mean, obviously it's just like a tube top. Yeah, not much to say about it. I just I thought it was funny. Okay, kind of cute. Whoa, what if I made like a bunch of panels that are just stripes and then just sewed them together like a little cardigan? It would be kind of cool to imagine, like if I just did a bunch of little sections on the Centro machine of stripes and then just turn them into a cardigan with all of my acrylic scraps. Wait, I think I want to do that. Are you kidding? Okay, stay tuned on this whip. Okay, I thought it was almost done, but I think I'm actually way more interested in doing that. Okay, fun. Inspiration strikes mid-podcast. Love that. But it was funny because I started working on that tube top in the middle, like I said, of editing my vlog, which I was using editing my vlog to take a break from finishing the baby blanket. And that was when I was like, okay, girl, you are all over the place with your whips. So I think what I'm deciding as I've been talking about them all is what I know to be true, which is that I need to finish this baby blanket like tonight. It won't take me very long at all. I have like a row and a half left to do of the border. And I want to make sure I put it in the washing machine and like wash it really well before I give it to them, and also just test that they can do that, because I'm not giving new parents something they can't put in a washing machine. But I'm going to focus on that tonight, and then I think I'm going to look at this cardigan idea, and then I'll revisit the cupcake ruffle skirt, because now I have the pattern and I do want to make it, but I have the pattern, so there's no real rush. Again, like I said, I don't really see myself like actually wearing this skirt. I just think it looks so pretty and I'd like to make one. So I'll table that for now. So yeah, maybe expect more podcast kind of episodes like this, where I just kind of update you guys on my whips. I know that I like watching them, and I hope you guys do too. Let me know what you all thought of this video in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. And if you want more frequent updates on my whips and my different projects, you can find me on Instagram. I am @_thedropstitch. And if you want to follow me on Ravelry, I am the Drop Stitch, all one word with 2 H's at the end. I hope you all are having an amazing week, and until I see you in the next one, please be sure to be nice to yourself, stretch your wrists, drink some water, and please, parole responsibly. Bye everyone!